Hello, everybody. DmGeezerJim here, doing another entry into our Monster Shorts video series, our Monster Chat video series. Thanks for joining me. As always, appreciate your time. Appreciate you sharing a little bit of it with me, and I hope you hope you learned something out of this video. Would love to hear back in comments and anything like that. Likes, subscribes are always appreciated as well. But let's get to it. So the ugly dude we have on our cover is the Balhannoth. A Balhannoth is a entry from Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse. It's a Shadowfell-based creature. I'm going to try to do the three things that we normally do. It's going to be a little bit different. Probably going to be three things as far as, obviously, the first thing we're going to look at our stats. First thing we're going to look at the background on it, and then we'll look at the stat block on it, and then this one might run a little bit long, because basically your Balhannoth is a lair-based creature that generates its own illusory lair. We'll get to that here in a little bit. So Balhannoth, the first thing, what is it and where is it from? A Balhannoth is a creature that is negative. I don't need that one yet. It's native to the Shadowfell, a creature that feeds on people or feeds on flesh, but uses psychic tricks, teleportations, illusions, and that kind of a thing to draw its prey to itself. Balhannoths find their way to the material plane on accident. Occasionally, they're brought there, transported there by dungeon makers, high-level wizards, BBEG type guys to protect a particular location or a lair type of a thing. So your big MacGuffin that you need to guard, a Balhannoth is a really good creature for that, but it is not native to the material plane. This is something that comes in from the Shadowfell, okay? They don't wander around so much on their own, so this is definitely a set piece type of a creature based on its background. Now, with one caveat, if you're playing around in the Shadowfell, if your campaign is actually taking place in the Shadowfell or have access to it, or any of your outer planes that are connected as well, that could also include your Domains of Dread. If you're using Ravenloft stuff, then a Balhannoth is a little bit more accessible. But they are very situational monsters based on their backgrounds. Let's do a quick look into the stats for our step number 2 here. Now, I've got to be honest with you. It's going to be Section 2 and Section 3 are going to kind of blend in together because you can't have one without the other because of its abilities. Okay. Armor class 17, hit points 114. It's a CR 11 monster. Kind of squishy for the CR. It's more dependent on its abilities than actual toughness to survive. It's immune to being blinded. It's got blind sight out to 500 feet, passive perception of 16, but it has no resistances, has no immunities, has nothing like that. So it's not going to be the toughest creature for a level 8 to level 10 party to deal with once they get close to it. If your party closes in ranks into melee range with your Balhannoth, it's going to be over pretty quick. Potentially. You do have 2 legendary resistances that are going along with this guy, so if you fail a saving throw, you can decide to pass one instead. It's going to have 3 total attacks per combat round. You'll have 1 bite attack and 2 tentacle attacks. +7s to hit on both of those, which is a little bit low for its CR because it's not a physically based creature. You're going to have a hard time landing your attacks with a +7 at this level. Keep that in mind. 3d10 plus 3 piercing on the bite, respectable. 19 average on your bite damage. Your reach of 10 feet on the tentacle. 2d6 plus 3 bludgeoning, an average of 10, and a DC 15 grapple. Kind of low for the level. Again, just keep in mind, despite as ugly and as spooky and Izuki as it looks, it's not a statistically physically dominating monster. I guess is the best way to say it. The target's restrained, and the Balhannoth cannot use its that tentacle against another creature. It has a total of 4 tentacles. So hypothetically, you could grapple and restrain 4 creatures at the same time. No more than that. You're out of tentacle attacks at that point. And it has 3 legendary actions, choosing from the options below. As usual, only one legendary action can be used at a time, and only at the end of another creature's turn. Regain spent legendary actions at the start of its turn, so you get bite, teleport, vanish in any particular order at the end of one of the turns. You make 1 bite attack against a creature it has grappled, so it's going to be a free attack if you do get something grappled. This is a fun one. Teleports along with any equipment it's wearing or creatures it's carrying. or including creatures, is grappled up to 60 feet away to an unoccupied space that it can see. And then it can become invisible for up to 10 minutes or until after it makes an attack roll. So if you've missed a couple attacks, you can use a legendary action to make himself vanish, become invisible. If he's still where he's at, the party can still attack with disadvantages, etc., etc., but it is one of the defense mechanisms. I would suggest using the vanish not within melee range when you're a little bit farther out as the party's closing in to reposition. Speed of 25 climbing, 25-foot walking, 25-foot climbing, not the most mobile critter. Okay, so why are we spending some time looking at this? This is a CR10, CR11 creature that won't survive a round of combat with the 10th level party if they get close to it. Let's be honest. The main thing about it is its layer actions and its regional effects, and that's where we're going to continue part 2 going into part 3. And I'm just going to read from the text because I can't put it any better. In the Shadowfell, Balhannoths make their lair near places inhabited by creatures they hunt. They typically haunt well-traveled roads and paths, snatching people who come along. A Balhannoth used as a guardian in the Underdark might lair in caves near Underdark passages and guard the way in and out of its keepers' enclaves. Predatory Balhannoths alter reality in its lair to make the place appear inviting to travelers. A limited form of telepathy enables a Balhannoth to identify images of places where its prey expects their needs and desires to be met, such as an inn or a temple offering healing. It then warps reality around itself, hiding itself and remaking its environment to resemble such a place. The imitation is imperfect, but it's good enough to fool greedy or desperate creatures. Once its prey enters the trap, it snarches the target and teleports away to feed on their fear and despair. Okay. So that's where its major threat is. Its lair action on an initiative count of 20, losing initiative ties, a Balhannoth can take one of the following lair actions. So once per turn at the count of 20, if a player is at 21, then the lair action resolves. Balhannoth rolled a 15, then he goes. Just quick and dirty. The Balhannoth targets one creature within 500 feet of it. Not one that it can see, just that one that it can notice. And we're going to roll back up here. Remember, we've got a blind sight out to 500 feet. So it's going to, if it can detect a creature, it can teleport that creature. Succeeding on DC 16 Wisdom savings throw, or the target along with whatever it's wearing is teleported to an unoccupied space, the Balhannoth's choice, within 60 feet of it. So this is where your tactical planning is going to work in with the Balhannoth. Its main melee abilities are not that strong. What it can do to a character group at this level is nothing. But if you start considering its lair actions and building a lair, the creature builds its lair around it, chooses a lair, and makes it illusory. So this is truly a very set piece encounter type creature that you're going to need to plan around. You're going to have to be that dirty DM that uses the teleport to pull one of the weaker characters through space and time from 500 feet away to within 60 feet of the Balhannoth. Okay. Fog of War, that kind of a thing, VTTs. This could be a little bit of a challenge for you to administer, theater of mind, whatever, but you're now separating your party. The one thing you tell them never to do, you're purposefully doing as part of the attack. Vanish. The Balhannoth targets one creature within 500 feet of it. The target must succeed on a DC Wisdom saving throw, or the Balhannoth becomes invisible to that creature for 1 minute. The effect ends if it attacks that target. Not the end of the world, not a big deal. You can just, everyone sees it but one person. I'm not scared of that. Here's where it gets interesting. Warp terrain. The Balhannoth warps reality around it in an area up to 500 square feet. After 10 minutes, the terrain in the area reshapes to assume the appearance of a location sought by one humanoid whose desires the Balhannoth has seen. Regional effect. See the regional effect below. The transformation affects non-living material only and can't create anything with moving parts or magical properties. Any object created in this area is, upon close inspection, revealed as a fake. Books are filled with empty pages, golden items are counterfeits, and so on. The transformation lasts until the Balhannoth dies or takes this lair action again. So somewhere prior to the engagement happening, you need to use warp terrain in conjunction with one of the regionals. Okay, sense desire is a regional effect. The Balhannoth can sense the strongest desire of any humanoid within 1 mile of it, and learns whether those desires involve a place. a safe location to rest, a temple, a home, something like that. Creatures within 1 mile of the Balhannoth's lair experience a sensation of being close to whatever they desire the most. This sensation grows stronger the closer the creatures come to the Balhannoth's lair. So you have to be a little bit heavy-handed in regards to DMing this section, the Balhannoth's lair and regional effects. And your players are going to have to kind of get, this is removing some agency. This will test your meta skills as a player and a DM. So what your Balhannoth is doing now, what this crazy ugly critter has done is once a player character or a non-player character that the party's with, whatever, however you need to use it, is within 1 mile of the Balhannoth, it is then using its ability to sense a greatest desire. So you as a dungeon master need to know your players by this point. A holy relic that they're looking for in a ruined temple, a pile of gold, a safe place with a nice garden in it for the druid. Whatever you know that your player character is going to be drawn towards, one of those characters is going to, you're going to craft a illusory false lair that matches and represents that greatest desire, that safe spot, that whatever location. You're actually going to construct that, create that as an illusion, and then you're going to draw your player into that. Now, there is no savings throw involved in this, so you've got to be very good about describing the urge, the sense, you really feel like something's pulling you in this direction. The object of your heart's desire, the MacGuffin of the adventure that you know you've been seeking for 2 months now. Something just tells you that it's close, and as you round the corner, you see a pair of broken columns and a doorway that leads into what appears to be a buried ruined temple. Knowing that your players are expecting the MacGuffin to be in there, the Balhannoth has created this illusory construct of this space. So once that is set up and established, then you need to use your teleportation ability to separate the party. Pull someone in there, dispatch them, deal with them, move away from it. Because the lair is not dependent on the Balhannoth's presence once it's set up. Once you do it, it's the transformation lasts until the Balhannoth dies or takes a slayer action again. So hopefully you've used what you know about your players, you used what you know about the quest, you're using the storyline, the actual adventure to create a moment, and then you're using the Balhannoth as the bad guy in that moment. This isn't the real tomb. This is the fake tomb. This isn't the real temple. This is the fake temple that the Balhannoth drew upon their thoughts and desires to create a construct of it and then hunts based on that construct. So yes, the entirety of using a Balhannoth in combat is going to be dependent on your ability to predicate something that your players need to find, a location that they want or need, present that in a believable enough way to draw them close enough for you to then use the layer actions to teleport one person close enough to the Balhannoth to begin the combat. Okay? 100%, beyond a shadow of a doubt, a set piece creature. You should not take the Balhannoth and have it as a random creature. You're not going to be prepared potentially to set up the lair action in a way. Now, but at the same time, at the level that that a Balhannoth can arrive and can show up in a campaign, your players should be on a certain quest, a certain track, a certain goal. So setting up a location that draws them in shouldn't be nearly as hard because they're already kind of looking for something. So in a roundabout way, the rules, the descriptions that are given in the regional effects and the layer actions are basically set in place for you, the dungeon master, to be able to cheat and have this all set up. I mean, you're not cheating because you're using the rules that are written, So the hardest part, in my opinion, of using this is compelling your players to get there. You can tell them all, man, you really feel like you should go to the left. And most players are going to be like, yeah, if the DM's telling me I need to go to the left, that probably means I need to go to the right, for whatever it is. So be prepared for that. Make sure that you're able to handle that dialogue, that interaction with your players in a way that's going to pull them into the scenario. Cool? But yeah, 3 things to know about the the Balhannoth. All right, yeah. First thing, it's a creature of the Shadowfell. It's not native to where. It's not native to the material plane. So if it's in your campaign, it's there for a defined purpose. This is not a rando monster that's just going to show up. But it is native to the Shadowfell. So if you're playing in Ravenloft, you're playing in a Domain of Dread or anything there, it can be there. Second thing to remember, its skills. It's not a melee fighter. If your players get around this, if one good fighter gets in here at the appropriate level, it's going to be dead in a round or two. It's not designed to stand and spank, despite the fact it looks super duper spooky and wicked and nasty. It's not a heavy duty combatant. It's not got a lot of mobility. Most of its actual combat ability work in concert with its layer actions. Third thing to remember with a Balhannoth, you have to use your knowledge of the scenarios and the situations in the game and what your players' desires are and their reactions in order to bait the trap and set the scene for a Balhannoth to be a threat. It is a high maintenance monster to set up. It is a lot of work to set the encounter up, but it can provide a unique opportunity to throw your players off balance, to start making them question and wonder what they're doing, and to enforce early on, don't separate the party, because if you voluntarily separate the party, this is what happens when you involuntarily separate the party. Imagine what happens when you do it on your own. But above all else, yeah. Thank you so much for joining me. I know the video went a couple minutes longer than normal, but the Balhannoth's layering abilities and its phantasmal terrain type things, its illusory abilities, and its telepathic sensory abilities kind of set it a little bit apart and set it unique. Above all else, this is a situational monster. This is a creature that an encounter has to be built around. But don't ignore it because of that. I think you should be able to find a place within a campaign for Balhannoth for a really fun, unique, deceptive encounter for your players. Something that they're certainly going to remember. But hey, thank you so much for joining me for this video. DmGeezerJim, closing out my monster short. We're talking about the Balhannoth here. Hopefully you learned something from it. Likes, follows, subscribes are always appreciated. As always, join me over on Twitch for real live time chats. Same name, DmGeezerJim. Drop anything in the comments, and we'll catch you soon. Be safe out there.